Good afternoon from Silicon Complex and edition of Kaylee's Summary. My name is Lorena Wise. We take this very short break to be back with details on today's summary. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Thanks for rejoining us. And now to our very first development. The former Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf has urged the Boubacar Koun Unity Party-led government to extend its national reconciliation initiative beyond the reburial of former leaders and honoring the memory of victims of the Liberia's 14-year intermittent bloody civil war. Former President Sirleaf acknowledged the government's recent efforts, but averred that such reconciliation efforts cannot be achieved amidst political, religious, and tribal divisions. She cautioned the Boubacar Koun administration to take practical approaches to rally the support of political, religious, and tribal leaders for a genuine reconciliation draft that will serve the best interests of all citizens. According to Africa's first female president, the Unity Party-led government cannot easily succeed in achieving its agenda for inclusive reburial, that's for inclusive development amidst national division. Madam Sirleaf pointed out that honoring past leaders through symbolic reburial is necessary for national reconciliation, but the bigger picture remains reconciling the day-to-day national issues. As the much popularized July 17 protest approaches, renowned Liberian SCL political activist Martin Colley has cautioned the government and organizers of the planned protest to collaborate to avoid chaotic situation. Martin Colley, who canvassed for the ruling Unity Party to assume state power, said the government that President Joseph Boakai must uphold Article 17 of the 1986 Constitution to protect the rights of citizens who may be involved into protests to a peaceful assembly. The Liberian SCL political activists urged the Boubacar Koun administration to endure a high level of tolerance for criticism and grievances against its regime. He further called on the government through the Liberian National Police and the lead protest organizers stand to ensure smooth coordination for a peaceful assembly to prevent potential clashes between state security and would-be protesters. Colley emphasized that protecting the right of citizens to protest is part of the democratic principles of the state, but reminded the July 17 protesters to remain cognizant of their right to express their disenchantment and disengage from provoking the free movement of others. The House of Representatives has received a report from its Joint Committee on National Security and Judiciary endorsing the establishment of the Liberian National Police Trust Fund. During Tuesday's plenary session, the House Chief Clerk, Major Sayon, read the committee findings which support the creation of a dedicated and transparent funding mechanism aimed at strengthening police operations, particularly in law enforcement, crime prevention, and public safety. The proposed law title an act to establish the Liberian National Police Trust Fund of 2025 highlights long-standing logistical and operational challenges facing the Liberian National Police. The committee believes that sustainable and accountable funding is key to improving professionalism within the force. If enacted, the law will authorize funding from both government and international sources to be managed by a Board of Trustees under strict financial guidance. Lawmakers said the initiative will reduce reliance on ad hoc budgetary support and ensure consistent funding for critical police services, training, and infrastructure. Representative Sumo Mogwai of Mansurado Electoral District No. 3 has called for a swift national response to rising insecurity in local communities, citing an overwhelming escalation in armed robbery and public safety threats during night hours. Addressing scores of journalists on Wednesday, July 9, 2025, Representative Mogwai disclosed that he had officially communicated with the Inspector General of the Liberia National Police, requesting urgent intervention in areas such as Johnsonville, Pipeline, Jacobtown, Rare Hill, Duporo, and Barnesville communities. The District No. 3 lawmaker emphasized the need to introduce controlled no-go zones aimed at easing traffic and strengthening nighttime patrols. Meanwhile, Representative Mogwai has expressed deep concern over what he called the consistent neglect of young people by national authorities. He lamented the rapid increase in drug addiction among school-aged youth, many of whom he said were once actively involved in community football leagues but now victims of joblessness and substance abuse. Representative Mogwai criticized the Liberia Football Association for inviting district youth to join National League activities without offering employment or stipends despite a $5.7 million operational budget. The House Committee on Ways, Means, Finance and Development Planning has commended several government functionaries for what the committee has termed as strong contribution to national revenue collection. The committee presented the first quarter of the 2025 Revenue Performance Report, along with details of a new loan agreement between the Republic of Liberia and the African Development Bank, as well as the African Development Fund. The agreement aimed to provide institutional support to enhance domestic revenue mobilization and advance reform initiatives. Maryland County Electoral District No. 1 Representative P. McDurate also addressed ongoing challenges facing the Liberia Revenue Authority, which, according to him, are undermining Liberia's ability to generate sufficient funds for national development. Representative Dure noted during the hearing that the committee has discovered that several government employees are now paying income taxes, which he described as violation of the law. He called on members of the House of Representatives to take the matter seriously and to implement appropriate measures. The Liberia Council of Churches has ended a one-day meeting with the Solidarity and Trust for Youth Day organizers of the July 17 protest at its headquarters in Congo Town. Speaking with K News minutes after the meeting, which was held on Wednesday, July 9, 2025, LCC Secretary General Reverend Christopher Toll disclosed that the meeting is intended to encourage the leadership of Stand for the protest to be peaceful. According to Reverend Toll, the LCC wants to know the demands or points that Stand wants to put forward to the government of Liberia for an amicable redress. Reverend Toll explained that the council is expected to meet with the Ministry of Justice and Liberia's National Police to provide security for the protesters in order to avoid violence. Meanwhile, the organizers of the July 17 protest have strongly warned against any attempt by the Liberia National Police and the National Security Agency to allow armed agents to infiltrate the protesters so as to create that so as to create the basis for unprovoked violence. State National Chairman Mobile Maluri disclosed that the protesters, who will be in the tens of thousands, will invoke a mechanism that gives the right to citizens across citizen arrest of such agents. Mobile made it clear that nobody or an intro from heaven can persuade STEM and its collaborating civil society organizations. According to Maluri, STEM has no plan to station a violent protest, but anything of such will be from the Liberia government playing agents. And the leadership of the disbanded and demobilized personnel of the armed forces of Liberia is advising the veteran community against being part of any protest against the government of Liberia. The chairman of the disbanded and demobilized armed personnel, retired Major Larry Jala, said that as a veteran, their loyalty is to the constituted authority and not to engage in lawlessness. Addressing a press conference on Wednesday, July 9, 2025, Major Jala said veterans are not politicians and as such, they should have political protests to political parties and politicians. The group appealed to President and Commander-in-Chief Joseph Boakai to appoint the new management team for the National Bureau of Veteran Affairs. According to retired Major Jalai, such a move will allow retired Army officers to begin the implementation of segments of the government's arrest agenda for inclusive development. And the senior advisor to the Director General of the Center for National Documents and Record Agency has called for sweeping reform in the country's education sector. Ebenezer Bopor emphasized the urgent need to overhaul the national curriculum to reflect international standards. Speaking with K News on Wednesday, July 9, 2025, Bobo argued that the current education structure is overloaded with too many subjects, which he believes hinder the students from focusing on their future careers at an early age. Well, that's how we draw down the curtains on this July 10, 2025 edition of K News Summary. It has been John Echo from the News and Public Affairs Department of Cool 1.9 FM. My name is Lorena Wisa and I've presented.
Minutes